Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. We're tired. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you're a one-person shop or a leading up team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host who is laughing in the green room. We have none other than Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you today?
I'm tired, brother. I'm tired, but I'm doing good, man. I can't really complain. Things are good. How are you?
Good. I just got back from Vegas last week. It was definitely a good time. As you all know, we're starting an hour early because, quite frankly, you can watch it on demand at 6 o'clock, and we're trying to knock out our day. So, plus I got the good folks over at Gradient MSP waiting for me over at the ASCII conference in Lincolnshire. So, have to meet them up after this podcast. So
he's popular. He's popular.
Nah, I don't know about all that. But anyway. But what I love to talk about that I feel is popular to all of our hearts in the community is TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged is this September 16th to the 18th at the Hilton Rosemont Chicago O'Hare. There you will learn from other like-minded business owners in panels and breakout sessions, key takeaways from partners and vendors in the space, and you can experience the one-to-one hallway conversations where I heard Rick even say it last week, where the magic happens. Tickets are $299. However, word around the yard is if you are in our MSP Community Unplugged Facebook group and you are a subscriber, you may want to check out a video over there. May be able to get you something over there. But tickets are $299. Head over to techconunplugged.com and we're going to be happy to see you there. All right. So, no agenda for today. We are just going to talk about on how we're tired. Our clients are running us ragged. But no, I mean, I think, just wanted to jump on here, talk a little bit about how our weeks are going, get a couple stories, talk about my experience over at Channel Futures. I just have not had a chance to post about anything because work has just been grabbing me in every which way. But Rick, how has your week last week, one, hosting the shows, and two, how's work been so far at Renactus Technology?
Well, I'll say this. Last week was a bit of a challenge hosting the show. You never know. You never know what you take for granted until it's taken away from you. So you having to do the introductions and I have to just co-host it and just really, I just get to talk while you get to do the hard parts. I learned a valuable lesson last week. Now, we did talk about, I'm going to take on more of those duties so that it is not such a cluster, and I'll just leave the other word. But I mean, it went good. Kramer and I on Tuesday had a very good conversation. Once I stumbled through the logistics of the show, we had a very good conversation about cybersecurity and about just business in general, which is what the real purpose of it is. The rest of it is just window dressing. And then on Thursday, things were better. Ali Mahmoud and I had a good conversation about Augment and what they had to offer. So, all in all, I'm learning. I'm new to this, so I'm growing, and I promise to get better. I'm determined on that. But other than that, it's just been a busy week. Been a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm a little disappointed. I'm supposed to be at Robin Roberts boot camp this week and do some logistical changes. I couldn't make it, so I'm doing the virtual, which is good, but it's just not the same as being able to be in there and being able to press the flesh and talk to everybody. But I'm a little bummed out about that, but I'm going to make the most of it while I'm here.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we do definitely get your practice in. I again will not be on Thursday's episode. I will be actually at ASCII, which starts tomorrow, as I mentioned before. So I'll be out there. So Rick will have the great duty to those who tune in on Thursday to talk to Splashtop. I think that's a well-known vendor in the industry. So that should be a very good interview coming up here Thursday. And yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you with the events. I think that's a point where you got to get out. You got to get the time. You got to book that time to go out there. I know you went to Jersey ASCII show when it was there earlier last month or the month before that. And you got to make that time. Like you have to figure out how to recharge yourself and kind of get that motivation on bringing those logisticals and execute those internally in your business. I again was out in Vegas and Channel Futures last week at their MSP summit. I mean, it was interesting on a lot of the topics they were talking about, but more importantly, just a lot of the great vendors that were there. Spoke with Nodeware, which I think Nodeware is a vulnerability scan tool that we've seen them a couple times around there. We're going to hopefully have them on the show to talk to about a little bit more on that. Talk to our good friend Eric Pinto over at Sock Solder. Can't believe he has not been on the show. So we're going to go ahead and try and grab him to come on the show here soon. And then a lot of great MSPs and techs. I mean, I was on a session with what's next for managed service providers. And great studded cast of very different MSPs and IT service providers. You had some that had got acquired by another solution. You had some that were one-man bands. And then others were just kind of just trying to figure it out, right? And it's interesting on that whole dynamic of how big you can want to get and how you can just kind of have that lifestyle business, which we're hoping to bring some of that at TechCon Unplugged as well. But really great time. Really appreciate the invite from Juan Fernandez over at the MSP Growth Coalition to invite me out there. And then, the folks over at Channel Futures, Allison Francis, Jeanette Andrade, which we call G Unit. So that is the her for there. So she always a great team over there. If you guys have not applied for the MSP 501 awards or list, I think that's a great opportunity for some recognition for you all. I think you should head over to MSP channelfutures.com, head over to the MSP 501 section. Great opportunity to get some notoriety and let everyone know kind of where you stand amongst other of your peers. So definitely a great time from there as well. Plus, we got this nice little doohickey that I got from one of the vendors called Aftershock. I'm giving them a little plug because their whole thing is a bone conduction headset. So there's no speakers, there's no whatever. From what I think, it's all vibration, but it's not in the earpiece. It's actually just inside of the bone conduction is what they call it. So far it's been pretty good in the noise canceling. Rick kind of debunked what the sales guy told me earlier today, which I'm gonna have to tell him. I'm a little peeved about it. Comes with its own charger cord. I'm a little bummed that it's not type USB-C. It's their own proprietary type connection. But all in all, it's been really great. It's kind of replaced my big old hunky headset here that I've had for well over 10 years. As you can see, I had there because the plastic piece fell off and started cutting into my temple. So this has so far been pretty good for what I got it for. So can't complain. But yeah, like I mentioned,
the real test. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the real test is going to see how many episodes later does Paco still have that in his ear.
Right. We'll see how annoyed.
A real shout out to the vendor.
We'll see how annoyed he gets with this, but yeah, so we'll see how that all kind of plays out too. But yeah, so work has been interesting. I think that, with new hires and trying to develop process and trying to see the process kind of do its own thing has been interesting. I also realized that if you have a hunch that something's not right, you got to trust your gut. And so what I mean by that is, so Thursday I got back, I had been always meaning to audit my billing inside of Synchro. And, I go through all my accounts. So how this all started was I'm trying to use Gradient more and more because of their billable, reconciliation stuff. But I wanted to get an apples to apples comparison. So I jumped into Pax8, who I purchased our Microsoft licensing from. I grabbed their PDF. I grabbed the licenses that we're charging, and I noticed there was a discrepancy. And I was like, and I don't have it automatically synced. So I'm like, there's something not right here. I then go into even more to try and dive into on the billings of what we're billing for users and stuff like that. Fast forward an hour and a half after I've completely audited all of my clients, I come to find out that I have been losing $3,000 for the past 4 months that I have not billed for. So $3,000 a month times $12,000 that I will not see back because of billing errors. Now, you may ask, well, why did that happen? Well, I assumed that my team, when a new hire is coming on or someone gets terminated, they would adjust the billing. Stupid me to feel that would actually happen. But this just goes back to having processes and procedures. I thought I had the process down, but it turns out that the process was not very clear on my assumption of common sense would say is that you would think that if someone was added and we bill by user, you would go ahead and add the damn user. So that is kind of the issue that we ran into. It has since been rectified. Yay, I gave myself an extra bump on my revenue per month, but it was not a pleasant reason to find out. So that had began a whole process of retraining, resetting up, restructuring how we do our billing and the tickets coming in, and just really getting down to understanding, what are my next steps, right? Because it seems like either the process is not working or it's got to be the people. And I assume I have really good people that are working for me. I just don't have the proper process in place, which has been the case time and time again. The hope, at least I'm hoping, is that will prove to be a case and I don't have to make drastic choices later on down the line. So that is my my whole ordeal from last week. And then this week has been nothing but on-sites and the opportunity of deploying all the Untangle firewalls, which is now Arista, who will try to have on the show, because I did speak to an Arista Networks rep out there as well to kind of talk to us about what's going to happen with Untangle and kind of go from there. And a couple of new changes from some of the vendors out there as well. So so that is my deal for a lot of the stuff going on for this week. But Rick, have you had any client stories or any type of just gauze you wish that they just had some common sense between those 2 years of theirs?
It's always like that. But no, actually, I want to go back first before I talk about me. I want to harp on your mistakes. No, I'm just playing. I want to ask a question.
As you could.
Catching. I know when it happened, you and I talked about it, offline on the phone, and your words your words now are a lot more elegant than they were then. But
you definitely got what's the worst rating you can get in a movie theater? NC-17. Yeah, that was.
Let's just say I got the raw version of it.
Oh yeah.
But it's actually all in all, not losing money. No one wants to lose money, but it's a positive, and it's a teaching lesson for us, and there's an opportunity in that. So, I guess I'm gonna ask two questions, and this is it's a question that also follows with a lesson learned for all of us to make sure we're auditing correctly or auditing more frequently. But the first question is this: is this, and I'm not gonna hold anyone responsible, but is this something that, if used better or used as advertised, Gradient would have caught?
Yes, because the way that Gradient works, and for full disclosure, I am on their advisory council. So before you all come at me with pitchforks and flamethrowers, that I'm hyping them up because I'm on their partner advisory council. So I did update on my LinkedIn. So I'm not doing that. This is a raw, true advice about the product. Yes, because I think the way that it was set up is they have a way of setting up where you have everything loaded from your PSA and they connect to Synchro, Automate, Kaseya, Datto, Autotask. I have to double check if they work with Kaseya or not. But essentially, they hook into your PSA, they grab your billing, and then they kind of show you some of the modules that say, like, all right, what you're billing for, this is the number that you're billing for. Does this look right? And before, if you're using the free version, I believe, you grab a spreadsheet, like from Pax8, for example, you upload the spreadsheet, and then it'll compare, all right, you're selling MS licenses, there's 6 of them here, but you only, there's 6 in Pax8, but you're only billing for 5. Do you want to increase it? So you can hit it, increase it, and then it'll update the PSA or the PSA billing side on that end. So yes, it would have caught it. I know they are working on their synthesize campaign so that they can integrate as many vendors as possible so that it can be on a more automated basis. But yes, it would have caught it if Gradient was being used, which I had them go on trainings for, which is my hope for, because here's my issue. So I understand that, me being the business owner, I understand where all the bodies are buried. And there are a lot of, figuratively, and I know where there are all of the billing sections coming from, because we're getting billed, we're getting an invoice from Acronis, we're getting an invoice from Pax8, we're getting an invoice from, I don't know what other tools that we have, and we've divvied them all up for our margins and so forth. So I know what to reference. My assumption is that my team, who does the billing and pays the bills, should see one and one and kind of map them together. But as complex as it is, I totally understand. So this is why we're on Gradient. We enrolled in the software. We're paying for it. We're actually doing the automated situations. If they would log in and actually utilize the tool, they would have caught this, but they didn't. So now for me, now that I've kind of cleaned everything up, I can actually go into Gradient because, and this is a longer story, but I have to find a login for Gradient because they changed it. They being my team. So I don't know what login we're using now because it's SSO, and get into the system in order to be able to map both together. So yes, as you are aware, some houses are not together, and that is true on the house of Prodigy. That is for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it again, for all of us, it's a valuable lesson, and there's several lessons in it. One is just, this is something that we all say we want to do. We need SOPs. We need procedures in place that everybody can go to this and checklist and find. And then all the tools that, again, all the tools we buy and use for whatever, we have to make sure we're using them and then using them effectively, because if not, all we're doing is paying a vendor for a product that probably works, but doesn't work for us because we're not using it right. So, it's a lesson learned for all of us. And it's something that, when you told me this story, I found myself on Sunday doing my own audit, right? So now, again, I'm just going through looking at things similar the same way. And it's funny. I found a couple of things that two clients I overcharged for the last 3 months.
Oh, I got to tell you about that too. Go ahead.
For Microsoft Office 365, because I had a client, two clients who in December lost a user, and I didn't terminate the user. So the user is terminated in Synchro, but the user is not terminated in Pax8. So, in Office 365. So the client is paid for the user, a couple of, for the last, I guess, since January. So 3-4 months now, right? I found that in two situations. And then I found some situations where I was undercharging some clients. No, excuse me. I was being billed for some antivirus that for systems that were no longer in use. So, again, that's me not taking the system. We didn't take the system out of the system, basically, so It doesn't get billed. So, it goes back to, again, it's the same scenario. And this probably would have went on for months if you didn't have this situation last week and then say it to me, and then it sits on me on Sunday, and I just say, let me just take a quick look at what's going on. So, again, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so here's my question. Who does your billing? Is that you, or do you have a team member that takes care of your billing?
That is me. Like, it's supposed to be all automated. My responsibility is the billing. Latrice's responsibility is collecting the money. So, so she looks and she knows who hasn't paid.
Yep.
Or, if for some reason someone hasn't paid, she is on them. She's calling, there's a letter, she's pushing, hey, we need, her biggest thing is, one of the things that we all know we all should do, but not everyone's on auto pay. So, she's pushing for that. That has been her initiative. So she's getting that more so taken care of. But, I get it in the system. It's been in the system. And then it's kind of, I really haven't thought about it again, and that's where the problem arises. So again, it's getting a system in place that you audit, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever you do, but to make sure that your billing is right and inventory is correct with everything you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, what's amazing about that is a couple of things. One is the undercharging, right? And or the overcharging of your clients, because that's what I found out too. And I got really hit in the face with it on Monday morning because one of my very favorite clients that I just got him on and we've had a conversation about this where, if you find a client that you really like and you're trying to really impress, and this is a new one, love working with them. They're one of my favorite type of people to work with. They're probably up there with one of my older managed service clients that I had for a long time, and we double billed them. And it turned out where, she replied, "Hey, we got to freaking double the bill." And I was like, that doesn't sound right. So I go into Synchro, checked into the system. Turns out that whoever set up now I know what happened. They were training one of the new hires. Instead of adding the proper line item, because we bill against 2 line items, they didn't add the second line item properly and zero it out. They added some other additional line item that I don't know where it came from and zeroed that one out. So all of the remote work we did added up and added to the bill. So obviously apologized totally on ours. Let's reverse it. And so we settled up and kind of did all that. But what was crazy is that, again, another piece of where the details are what's going to get you. And it's what lately, the past month and a half, that I've realized that we do a great job supporting our clients. What we suck at, meaning ProdigyTeks, is that we keep getting caught up in a lot of our small details that we're missing. And it could be like super simple things like a client sent a ticket in the morning and, there's updates back and forth internally, but no one thought, hey, the client hasn't heard from us other than our automated reply. Can someone let them know that we're working on this? It's like things like that I feel like we're dropping the ball on a little bit, which with the new hires that should help with. We're starting to create pods so that way there's X amount of clients with X amount of team members, and we're starting to infrastructure that way. We may go to an outsourced help desk. We're talking to a couple companies right now that'll add 11 people for level 1 triage that has a very great culture. They're based in the US and only in the US. They're not in Canada. They're actually in the US. They're actually in the Midwest. So that's actually pretty cool. And really trying to figure that piece out. So as we kind of move forward on that piece, the small details are killing us. We're trying to figure out that piece, and really just trying to get in a better position to be able to provide the great customer experience that we've tooted about for all so long. But it's just the nature of the business. And what's amazing is that I have stopped sales. Like I have stopped sales. I have stopped marketing because I know that we need to figure out our stuff internally. Granted, we're okay to be able to do what we need to do. And, I'm in a very good position, but it seems like all these customers keep coming. They're still coming to me, which is a very great, there's one phrase I've always learned is that every deal is possibly the last deal you'll get.
Right.
So you always treat it like that. So,
that's a great problem to have, is what you have.
Yeah. So we and sometimes they don't work out. Like I had a lead call today where they're like, look, we just want break fix. Totally what we want. We only want break fix. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give our spiel to you. It sounds like you're pretty set on you needing something to break fix. You've talked to a bunch of other IT companies on why managed services make sense. So I'm not going to draw out my breath.
Right.
I have 3 referrals that I can send you. Let me go ahead and send you this email. And she was appreciative. She's like, oh my God, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You don't know how hard I've been looking for this type of service, and I haven't been able to find anybody. So it's just, and that's just me doing good faith and work and stuff like that. But I walked in with another client. She's like, our emails is all jacked up. Can you help us with a Microsoft 365 migration? Sure. So now I have a Microsoft 365 migration because I just walked in doing the right thing. And I've always been a big believer of whatever you put out, you get back tenfold. But
and that's comes back to you. Exactly.
that's what you get for that as well. So it's super crazy. But yeah, what you were saying before I cut you off.
No. I think what you're saying has a lot of validity, and it's just like I give that example too because a lot of people would not customers appreciate that. Like, and that customer who you refer to the break fix, when she comes to the point where she needs managed services, she's probably going to remember you. You know what I mean? She's going to
Let's
remember.
hope.
She's going to remember, hey, that guy is the one who didn't push me, who heard what I said, and and just tried to accommodate me. So that'll probably
Right.
be a good thing for you, and going forward. And it's again one of those things you put out in the universe coming back for you. So
Yep.
but it was a lot of things we talked about. You talked about that rung some bells for me. But it all goes back to, as we are growing in this business, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, doesn't matter how many customers you have, it doesn't matter how much money you have. There are going to be some growing pains. There are going to be some logistical challenges that we face, and how we deal with those now and immediately is going to help determine how we grow, how we scale, and how easy it is that the next time something comes up to deal with. Because I will say this from personal experience, there's been things as when I was a one-man shop, there's been things that came up and it's like, okay, I'll fix that. And then you got this list, you look around because you got 100 other things to do. You got this list of 1,000 things now that I'll fix that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets overwhelming. So what I'm learning is you tackle those things immediately. You try to get them solved immediately, get them solved quickly, or at least get started on fixing it. You may not be able to solve the whole problem, in one sitting, but get started on fixing it. Take some steps towards it, because that is going to help you in the long run. As I'm trying to, as when you finally sit down and say, hey, I gotta get my act together. I got to get the business together. I got to get things right. That list is humongous. You know what I mean? And you can only do it one at a time. And when you come from, like you say, when you run the business yourself for so long, you know where the bodies are buried. You know exactly how things are supposed to work. You know in your head what happened, where it happened, how to deal with it, how to fix it. And it's your people don't know that. Right? They
Right.
don't get it. You could tell them till you're blue in the face, but they don't get it because they don't approach it with your knowledge. So we talk about documentation all the time. As MSPs, we document for our clients, right? We document everything that goes into their network, document passwords, document this, document that. The biggest set of documentation we need to do is on ourselves. That's our SOPs. That's just our I talked to a friend the other day who's not in the industry, but we had a nice long talk about business and industry. And he told me something. He said, I've listened to your show a couple of times. I talked to you and I've known you for 25 years. So I know you know tech. I know you know how to fix things. I know you know everything about computers that there is. And this is how the conversation started, because he called me about a problem with his computer, of course. But anyway, we just happened to have the conversation. And something he said to me made a lot of sense. He said, I know you've been doing this for a long time, but when you're struggling or you're having some challenges with yourself, have a conversation with yourself as if you are new, and you're approaching your business as if you're starting out now. There's a question. I think Dave Sobel had the and I don't want to make this a long story, but I think Dave Sobel had a show entitled "If I Were Starting an MSP Now," right?
Oh,
All the
yeah,
things he
yeah.
would do, what he would focus on, right? Now, Jose said this to me, and his way of saying it to me was, okay, act, with some of the challenges you're facing in your business, act as if you're starting your business and you have those challenges. And then you're talking to Rick, who's been doing this for 20 years, and you're giving someone advice. What advice would you give yourself? What conversation would you have with yourself about how to fix this problem, how to deal with it, how to, alleviate it, how to turn whether it's a negative into a positive, and how does that help you grow your business for the future? So it's an interesting way to look at it, because as techs, all of us, and I say this all the time, I said it last week, for all this time, I've realized I'm a good tech. I can, you put a computer problem in front of me, I'm going to solve it. 9 times out of 10, I know the answer already. If not, I know how to go and use my resources to figure it out. Right. So
Yeah.
we know that. The other side of this is we're running a business. And I always say I'm a great tech, but a lousy businessman. Right. So now I'm making that transition where we have to make that transition. So with all the knowledge I've had, the friends, the conversations, the books, everything we've gained, all the knowledge we've gained, it's time to put it to use. So when I'm faced with these challenges, logistical, financial, growth, whatever the challenge may be, I'm going to have a conversation with myself. So experienced Rick is going to have a conversation with troubled Rick about steps to take to fix this. Of course, I'll still reach out to everybody. You'll still get those late night phone calls from me, frustrated cussing. But it's actually taking what we know and actually applying it and using it, which I think, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we do know, and we don't push ourselves enough when it comes to the business side of it. Client comes to you with a problem, you do everything you can. You will stay up all night trying to figure out how to fix it. We don't necessarily take the same approach when it comes to figuring out logistics in the business, or figuring out how to get our techs or our employees, whoever they may be, to be more effective. You know what I mean? I don't,
And it's funny you say that, because two things. One, I also do that, but I'll even go a step further where, like, if I have a busy day of on-sites and projects, I will be up all night trying to figure out what is the most efficient way that I can knock this out so I can be on my way. And I'll constantly do that over and over again. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this, then that, and this and that. And it never works out the way it's supposed to. Maybe 5 times out of 10 it will. But the other 5, it's like, oh, you forgot about X, or, oh, you forgot about this. Like, perfect example. Today, I had to go ahead and do a SSD replacement, install an access point, and set up a credit card reader. So my thing was like, all right, cool. I'll knock out the access point, set up, replace the SSD, install the updates. And while the updates are going, I'll go ahead and get the POS card reader going. Well, come to find out that they didn't have the ladder anymore for me to go ahead and install the access point 14 feet up in the air. So I was like, well, that's not going to get done today. So then I go to the computer to replace the SSD somehow. And I don't know why, but we go ahead and find that the mouse is missing from the front desk. There's a cordless mouse. Mind you, I keep a spare keyboard and mouse in my trunk at all times. The day before, I happened to use it, and I didn't go to the office until right now, or today after the appointment. So I had no mouse. So I had to keyboard it, tab it all the way through to get this Windows 10 install going on this SSD replacement. Then set up the POS card reader, which that was the easiest to do in general, because I just had to hook it up to Stripe, run a test transaction, and it worked beautifully. But it was just like, what the heck? Like, I had my game plan, and then boom, and I got hit from there. The last thing I will leave everyone off with, and then we'll see if we want to add anything to this, is I was listening to the podcast IT for Whiskey. Myron Herrera and Joe Usila, I believe. Joe, you can kill me if I pronounce your last name wrong. He's out in Canada, up in the Great White North. He had a phrase that he was that was told to him that I thought was really, really great. And it basically says, no matter how much we've talked, and we've complained and we all whatever, the biggest piece of how do you determine if you're successful? And some people will say revenue number goals. Some will say profit number goals. Some will say having, staff and X amount of clients and whatever, right? But what Joe said he was taught, or he told, and he took it to heart, was when you have a team member or a staff member care about the business more than you, then you're successful. And for some reason that hit me really hard, because I was like, damn, and that's how you know you have a business, because you've created something that someone who has no ties to you cares about that business equally or more than you do to try and keep that good business going. And that's how you know that you're successful. And that's how you know you've made it. So with that, I'll leave that for myself and we'll round out this show. Rick, any lasting words that you have to share for today?
Well, I can't top that, so I'm going to leave that be. Well, we will move on to as we're closing. I think it was this was one of those good talks, and again, I'm going to give my call out to all other techs out there. Anyone listening to the show, watching the show, hearing about the show, we'd love to have you on. This is what we do. The goal here is Paco and I don't have all the answers. We're only giving the ones we have and trying to share that. And what we don't know, we're trying to find out from other people offline anyway. So this is an open invitation. Anyone that can hear, come on the show, talk with us. It's as you can see, it's a laid back, open forum. Nothing structured really. We're just two guys who know tech talking business. So I'm going to leave that open. So, again, send us a email, Rick at MSP Unplugged, info at MSP Unplugged. We'd love to have you on the show, fit you in, sit down and talk with us. And that doesn't matter if it's 3 of us, 4 of us. Well, we'll maybe have to cap it like 4 so we can all get a word in edgewise because everybody knows I like to talk. But other than that, again, TechCon Unplugged is approaching. September is, I guess that's 5 months from now, but time goes quick. So we are still working very hard every week. Paco and I are, on the phone, making sure logistics are together, making sure we're doing everything, questioning what we're doing to make sure that what we're trying to give to the community is what the community wants, what the community needs. So again, we are still open for suggestions, questions, anything you have to offer that could help us make this a good show. Please give us an email, give us a call, whatever you feel you need to do. Send it by carrier pigeon if that's the best way. But let us know. We're taking everything into account. Again, we do have a committee that's meeting of that is just again. Other techs, other business owners just like us who've been to the show, who, is just trying to put forward some effort to help us make this show the best one yet. And so, again, I'm just giving that call out to anybody. Reach out to us if you have any suggestions, anything you'd like to talk about with us about it.
Yeah, one thing.
And buy your tickets too.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, one thing I've heard also in the community is kind of where we are leading the show, right? And where we're leading with, even when we did our rebrand from the Computer Repair Podcast to MSP, because we felt that was more encompassing on IT service providers than just computer repair shops, right? And I know a lot of our audience does do break fix work, computer repair shops, hybrid, everything in between. As you know, I'm very conscious of how I mention or relate to us, calling us IT service providers. And I don't usually use the word MSP because I feel like MSP is just the term we're using right now, right? They were called VARs before, which is value-added resellers. Before that, there were IT integrators. It all means the same thing. And I want to make sure that if you feel like the show has gotten into a road that you would like us to cover more of, whether that is more break fix stuff, tools, things of that nature, we are talking from our perspective and our experience. So we would love to hear from yours. So if there's something you definitely want to come on and bring to the table, we would love to hear more about what's going on with your life, because we feel that your opinion is going to be more beneficial to the audience that may be listening, and it may help them out in the long run. So, all right, that is pretty much it for us today, guys. And the gals. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged or facebook.com/MSP Unplugged, but head over to youtube.com because we're trying to do some fun stuff over there and we need our numbers up. So like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us on the go with your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And yes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Say that 3 times fast, Rick, because I know you caught up last week. We want to say thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.